Hi guys, it's great to be here. I mean, I graduated from a Greek university, and I rarely had the opportunity to be in touch with the market side of things. This is totally different to what I experienced in the US, and I think it's great that you guys here bring people who have some experience in startups or want to do something, so that they share their knowledge with this. As you probably know, I've been involved in many startups. My short story is that I started as an entrepreneur right out of university when I was 23, 24. I co-founded E-shop.gr together with two friends, classmates at the National Technical University of Athens. And then until 2009, I was focused only on E-shop. I was an entrepreneur, as an entrepreneur should be. When you want to help your startup grow, you need to be focused and devote the necessary energy and resources to it. 2009, I helped co-found Openfund with George and Kasselakis, and other four guys who had experience in the community. Then I suddenly realized that it's also fascinating to help other startups, other entrepreneurs create their startup. So I became an angel investor at Taxibit. And then I co-founded E-food.gr, which is the largest delivery aggregator in Greece, and I helped also Eleftheria, who's a friend, and I've known her for many years, to materialize Doctoranytime. So I'll tell you a bit about what the situation is in Greece and how I saw the situation evolve in those 12, 13 years I've been in this industry. And then I'll share with you what I think is a checklist, what are the questions you should answer in order to create a startup. So the situation in Greece, one thing that I'm sure that you share this notion that internet services in Greece lagged. We were the first retailer in 1998, and that was fairly early because Amazon was founded just in 1994. So that was early enough. But if you think that until 2005 we didn't have an OTA in Greece, until 2 years ago we didn't have an online insurance, and these things have been around in Europe and the US for many more years. So generally this situation allows room for disruption. So even if you're going to create a startup in Greece, you still have the opportunity to do so, and that's what we did with a couple of projects. So you couldn't look and find information about a doctor until last year, and you couldn't order delivery food online until 2 years ago. Another thing that is generally known, and I hope you realize, is that starting an internet venture is much easier than starting anything else. Internet ventures have lower capital requirements. It takes less to build a web or a mobile project. It's easier to market it. We can measure the marketing. It's because of us, actually, the people who are involved in the internet space, that people in marketing started quantifying everything, just because we have the CPC that will then translate into CPA, and we can measure every marketing activity this way. And this makes things more efficient, and this helps a lot a new startup grow. And the other thing that helps a lot a startup grow is that because of its nature, it's a disruptive project. It brings change. It improves a lot the way things are done. This creates a word of mouth that helps the story grow. So Greece, apart from disadvantages that occur in every other country in the world, on top of that, Greece has a favorable environment, unfortunately, because of the recession and because of its situation. So it's easier to start something now because you can find talent at more affordable prices. It's easier to find a place to rent. And an example of an underdog story is Taxibit. Taxibit, that is competing with some giants in like Hello in the UK or Uber in the US, have done with only 2.5 million euro funding, is already in 4 countries doing thousands of rides per day, with very limited funding, very limited resources, and is competing effectively in many countries right now. This is an example of what Greece teaches us to do, because we have to cope with a difficult situation. These are also examples of how quickly you can grow things if you invest resources and energy. So with Dr. Anytime, and answering a question about the traction, so around 1,000 people per month now find a doctor through Dr. Anytime and book an appointment either online or offline. E-food, within 22 months, we have more than 900 restaurants. We're in 12 cities, and more than 1,500 people per day order food through E-food. This is pretty quick. And adding to all those situations, the fact that Greek youth is now more eager to find or to work for startups. In the past, even when I graduated from a university, or I was thinking about doing banking or working for an FMCG company or consulting, which I did actually for 2 years. Now, many young people are thinking about joining a startup. And that's why I saw this wave in the last 2-3 years. This wave of young people creating projects and working for them and changing the world. It only started relatively years ago. I think Open Coffee there was no formal technology meetup before 2007. There was no seed investing fund in Greece until 2009. So even if you had an idea and you were a good team with a solid understanding of what you wanted to do, you couldn't find just 40,000 euros. At Openfund, we were giving between 30 and 50,000 euros to teams. We funded 8 startups, one of which was TaxiBit. Now things have gone a long way. We have many interesting and successful startups, Elas Direct, Daily Secret. They actually closed another Series A round now. Backsense, which as you may know, is a company that recently sold to Splunk. It was one of the first official exits of entrepreneurs. Warply, a B2B platform that allows mobile targeting for mobile users. These are companies that are, and many more. I mean, this is just a small example. There are many other successful and promising companies. I really believe in the potential of Incrediblue, Workable, RadioJar, Packaround. These are startups that have the opportunity to do something outside the Greek borders as well. They have the opportunity to compete successfully. So we're just in the beginning, that's my feeling, and there are many opportunities for people either to launch startups or work for startups. Don't think that the only way is to launch a startup. You can gain some experience by working at a startup. It's a great school. So the resources are there now. We didn't even know what co-working space meant some years ago. Now we have many co-working spaces. We have accelerators. There are many incubators, many advisors, people who have done it, and people who are willing to mentor or invest in other startups. And then there is funding. As I said, we had no funding at all 3 years ago. Since 2013, we have 4 seed investing funds. Actually, I know Openfund because I'm involved, very active. Openfund, PJ Tech, very active. First Athens and Odyssey are not as active, but still, they have money. Eventually, they will need to deploy the capital. And there are angel investors out there doing stuff. So the question here is, okay, I get it. It's easier now because there is an ecosystem around that can help me. So how am I supposed to do it? And judging from the presentations I saw, I think you need to focus on those questions because it's important to answer those questions for you first as potential entrepreneurs in order to convey the right message to the people you are talking to for funding or for partnerships or for anything. So six things. What is the product? What's the differentiation? How big is the market and what's the competition? I didn't hear at all about the size of the market in the presentations before. If you want to talk and get the interest of people, you should talk about size because it's one thing to do an idea that refers to a smaller market. It's another thing to talk about an idea that appeals to a larger audience. The team is very important. Then what's the implementation plan? How will you do what you want to do? And because of that, what are the capital requirements in order to make it happen? So it's better in writing just because it gives discipline to yourself and it makes you think twice about what you want to convey. Remember that when we gather our thoughts, I'm sure that everybody, when he's thinking, he understands his thoughts, but it's even more difficult to convey those thoughts successfully to somebody else. So the more concise, the better. So what's the idea? It has to be very easy and comprehensible to somebody who has no prior experience to what you're talking about. There is the notion of elevator pitch. I hope that you have heard this term. We learned it in the US just because it has to do with the time that you're given in order to convey your idea. You should be able to convey your idea within 15 seconds, 10 seconds, by the time the elevator takes to reach another floor. Think about that. Think about the presentations we all saw before. Did you convey the message? Was it conveyed effectively within 10 seconds? Did we all understand what the product was about? I'm not sure we did. What are the benefits? What's the benefit of what you're doing? How are you improving the world? What are you doing better for the consumers or the suppliers if you're a marketplace? In our case, I'm giving an example for E-food. It was very clear to us what are the benefits we're creating for the consumer and the restaurants. It's easier for the consumer. It gives a cost advantage, more choice for the restaurant. It's more effective marketing. It's cheaper advertising just because they only pay on order. So it's a clear benefit. How do you come up with ideas? Even though I'm sure that people have ideas, typically it's better if we relate with the problem we're trying to solve, because we are better able to understand how we're going to solve it. So it can come from our needs or from friends' needs. In our case, Dr. Anytime also was an issue for me. I relocated. I wanted to find a dentist near me. I had nobody to refer me. And now there are other ideas, like how can you find a babysitter in Greece? Really, you can't. This is a tangible idea that affects thousands of families that their parents are not able anymore or not willing to help them with the kids. Size your market. You should know your numbers. You should know what you're after. How big is this? I mean, you want to do travel experiences like Pirates of the Aegean. Okay, how big is this market? What am I expecting to get in terms of revenues? What's my competition? Are there other people doing trips, organizing experiences? Because this is an experience. TaxiBit, it was a clear case. And when I saw this with my entrepreneurial lens, but also the angel investor lens, it was a no-brainer for me. Because I could understand the value of the product, and I could see that even if this was successful just in Greece, this would mean a multi-million euro company just because of Athens. So, and the competition in the TaxiBit case was, okay, radio taxis or the old habits, which are, okay, hard to go, but still it's not as difficult. The team. So one thing is having friends and believing and trusting your friends, and also acknowledging their strengths and their capabilities. And the other thing is when things get really difficult, and things will get difficult. And Eleftheria couldn't have said it better before. It's very difficult to do a startup. It's a very difficult decision. It takes a lot of sacrifices. You become psychologically unstable sometimes, just because it's too much pressure. So you need to be around people whom you like, whom you trust. They have complementary skills, and they're willing to go through the same difficulties. This is very important. So ask yourself, is my co-founder willing to fight with me? There are many places to look for a team now. I mean, Reload Greece is a great example. You guys can mingle and meet people. There are accelerators, co-working spaces, technology meetups. This is easy now. Then you need to come up and think in detail how you're going to roll out your product. Okay, you have an idea. What needs to be done to make this happen? So you need to do the website or the mobile site, but then you will also need the sales force or the customer service force. Of course, I say force, but it can be one person at the beginning or two, but you need to think out how this will start and how it will evolve after a year. You don't want to build something that will be like a 2-3 people company. Hopefully you want to create something substantial, something that will scale and will have significant turnover. So this means that you need to think eventually what will be needed in terms of resources. And of course, it could be also a matter of marketing, because you may have an amazing product, but if nobody knows about it, you need to spend some money on advertising. So factoring that all in, then you understand what is an investment requirement. And then you go to the funding. So I give you an example of E-food, and this is the first plan we did. We exceeded by far this number, unfortunately. But at least you should have an idea of what you need. So it has to be the platform and also the running cost, this is what I underline, because many people say, okay, I need some marketing, I need to create the product. You need to fund the organization until it reaches break even. And this is a significant amount. And then once you have those numbers, you can go for funding, knowing your numbers, having done your homework, asking for money, the 3 Fs, friends, fools, and family. But of course, after that venture capital, we have some venture capital options now, and angel investors. So it is a lot of work. I think you heard that before. It is risky. Is it for you? As I said, you can join another way, which is work for another startup, so take some less risk. And there is Workable actually is posting this, I'm sure you know, this is a link where Greek startups post their jobs. A couple of final advices. So if you are creating your startup and you're convinced that this is the idea, I have what it takes, I have the team, the idea, everything in place. It's a basic question. If you had money, would you invest in your project? Step outside of your conceptions and say, okay, I'm an investor now, and I'm looking at my project, would I fund it? So this is a serious test that most startups do not pass. In any case, you have to do your homework, as I said before, and the reason is twofold. So first of all, you build credibility when you're talking to somebody else. But it also shows respect to the other person who's investing his time in this case, talking to you and understanding and evaluating your case. It's more likely that he will invest if he sees that you have already invested time in this and thought this well. Also, another advice is that if you have faith in your product and you can bootstrap it, as we say, until some stage, do it at the latest possible stage and ask money at that stage. First of all, you will get less diluted, which is the best for an entrepreneur. And also, it shows faith, that you believe in your product, and this way you take even more risk by creating it on your own. Thank you, and I wish you all the best.